Wood Testers.
Hey Wood Testers, Duke4005 back with another performance review. This time with a shoe that I was very shocked to get in the first place. Only 96 pairs made, and the technology behind it is really quite amazing when you stop and think about what they're doing now. And that shoe is the Under Armour Architech, the first I guess, mass-produced 3D midsole. Again, only 96 pairs made, so I wouldn't quite call it mass, but it's more than one, so we'll go with that number. I did use this shoe for weightlifting, cross-training, which are its intended purposes. I did run a few short distance runs in this shoe, which I found out it is not made for. And then I even put it on the court and played a couple of games of 25, which, if you know what that game is, it's basically one-on-one, whoever shows up, and a couple of games of 3-on-3 half court. I did not quite have the guts to put it on full court run. So nothing left to do but do it. Let's find out the performance aspects and see how the Architect did. Okay, so the first aspect to get into on the Architect is the traction. And I did say I took these on the basketball court, and honestly the traction on these shoes was fantastic on a basketball court. It's very, very tight though, much like the Lillard 2, so it did pick up dust really, really quickly. The grooves themselves are flattened off, which for what it's intended for makes perfect sense. For basketball, not so much. However, the rubber is pretty soft and it is pretty flexible, so on a clean wooden court, if that's what you want to play in these, you're good to go. Now, as far as weightlifting, the traction pattern is fantastic on concrete floors, on rubber mats, on I would say carpeted, but anything gets traction on carpeted, so forget that. But you know, the smooth concrete floors you find in a lot of gyms, a lot of sweat boxes. If you go into the rubber mats like you get in a 24-hour fitness, even on a wet surface, these really grip really well. Now the heel, you'll see, is just a diamond traction pattern, and it's not really meant for traction as much as it is for stability. And tying into the midsole before we get there, it is a really stable pattern. It releases your foot when you're trying to do strength movements, trying to do push movements. It allows you to push off but not hold into that movement. So it's really a wonder in that area. Again, it runs. I took these out a couple of times on some short distances, and no farther than I went, you know, a mile and a half. They weren't too bad. The conditions were dry, the roads were perfect, so I can't really judge on that. But 1 or 2 runs in these and you won't care about the traction anyway. Now, to move up from the traction to the cushioning, we'll get to this area in a minute. You can see the forefoot here has charged foam, and the charged is really more of the Gemini 2 variety than the Curry variety. It is a little bit more responsive than what you find in the Curry. Again, like the Gemini, it has that micro G feel to it, you know, just a little bit more bounce than what you normally get with a charged foam. And being in a $300 shoe, I would expect that. But since with the Curry experience that I've had the last couple of times, I was really hoping that's what I would get. It's low, it's responsive, feels really good on the power moves, on explosion moves. So if you're looking for that little bit of extra pop, a little bit of extra impact protection from the charged, you'll find it in this shoe. Now the heel, I was really intrigued when I saw the pictures of these by this webbing. Would it compress? Would it bounce back? And I can say it does neither. You can see me pushing in right here just almost as hard as I can, how little the give is. But that is by design. Again, this shoe is made for stability, for weightlifting, for powerlifting, and for cross training. And there is almost virtually no give at all to this webbing system. It's very, very stable. The insole is thick, it's dense, it's durable. So the insole does provide a little bit of step-in comfort and impact protection if you happen to do any movements, power cleans where you happen to land back on your heels. You'll let the 3D midsole take the stability part away, and the insole will take care of the cushioning. I'll be honest, for the price and for the technology, I was expecting way more out of this midsole than what I got. But for what it's designed for, it does the job great. Okay, now we'll move from the midsole and the cushioning into the materials department. Now we've already covered this lattice 3D printed midsole here, so we won't get into that on the materials. We would get into this new clutch fit upper, and it's called Auxetic clutch fit. And if you had the clutch fit drive and the drive 2, then you know the clutch fit on those was more of an overlay for structural support and didn't really have much elasticity, much give to it. The Auxetic does. You can see my fingers, I'm pinching and pulling on this, and if I can get my hand in here, you can see how the toe actually stretches under this clutch fit. And it's got the mesh underlay underneath it that's for breathability and comfort, which it is extremely comfortable inside this shoe. But the Auxetic clutch fit on the outside just has just enough elasticity to where it fits and forms your foot, but it catches, and you can see it's turned a different direction, so it catches before it gets completely unstable. This is the clutch fit, I believe, the overlay that's going to be on the Clutch Fit Drive 3 basketball that's coming out, so stay tuned for that one. But as far as keeping this shoe under wraps, it does a perfect job of holding you in. You've got a tongue that's basically just a thin nylon tongue, not much to it at all. There's a little bit of padding here in the clutch fit pattern that you can see, but it doesn't really do much because there's not much lace pressure to begin with. The laces are flat and they're thin. They don't really cut into the foot much at all. One thing you do notice though is the tongue ends right here where this Under Armour label is. It's really kind of a pain in the butt to get your foot into to get that tongue straight because it's wider. It comes down to about right here inside, but it's not a one piece. You can see it folding over here. So that part's really a pain in the butt. The inside of the ankle is lined with this faux suede-like material. It's not really terry cloth, but it's not really suede. It's some kind of a synthetic man-made material, but it feels really good on foot. The shoe itself, quality-wise, is unbelievable. Okay, now we get into fit, and length-wise and width-wise, this shoe fits exactly true to size. The one place I did have a problem was with heel slip. No matter how tight I pulled these laces at the top, I still got some heel slip, and you can see there's a long distance here between this last lace hole and the heel, and it's just almost impossible to get it completely locked down. That's the reason I didn't try this in much basketball setting at all, because I just did not trust that heel lockdown. I don't know if it needed another lace hole, maybe pop one here so you can get that runner's loop going and really lock the heel in, or if it's the weight maybe of this 3D latticed cage construction here in the back that kept the heel from locking in. Not sure, but I just never got a secure feeling in the heel enough for basketball or running. Now weightlifting, cross training, it was okay, but anything other than that, I did not want to perform athletically in this shoe. Now the forefoot and midfoot fit, again, this Auxetic clutch fit just feels great. It forms to your foot. It really locks you in these areas, and the give with it is almost like wearing a nylon runner. You can feel just a little bit of an extra overlay though for support. So the fit in the forefoot and midfoot is fantastic. Now support, there's not much in the mode of support structure other than this 3D midsole. The stability here is fantastic again for what it's intended for. You use the shoe for what it's intended for, not for what you want to use it for, what you think it would look cool doing. You use it for what it's built for, and it works. You do have these two underlay straps right here on the metal laces in the front, and believe it or not, these really do a good job of keeping your foot from rolling laterally. And you've got a formed outrigger on these little serrated edges of the side of the midsole that they stick out just enough to give you a grip, but they're very, very flexible, very giving, so it's not very clunky feeling if you're trying to do some kind of quick movements. The support system itself is, for being a cross-training weightlifting trainer, it's not quite what I would have expected, but it's better than what I thought it would be after I put them on, if that makes sense. You know, I think of a weightlifting shoe as being very structured, and this shoe does not feel that in hand. However, when you put it on, this clutch fit system along with these two straps really locks your foot in and gives you a solid feel underfoot. Again, the heel, if I could have just got a little bit better lockdown in that area, it would have made the fit and the support perfect on this shoe. Okay, so to wrap up, the Under Armour Architech is a shoe that is very good at what it is designed to do. That design is for cross training and weightlifting. Priced at $300. Again, it was very limited, so you probably did not have a chance to pick this shoe up, and the price itself was probably a deterrent to most of you even looking at it. I can assume, hopefully safely, that once this technology becomes easier to produce, becomes more desired in the market, you'll see that price go down. Don't hold me to that because I don't know. I don't have insiders at Under Armour or any of the other companies that are dealing with 3D right now, but I can only assume that that would be the option. $300 seems a little bit high for what you get based on just performance. Now, if you've got to have a 3D designed midsole, then yes, you'll probably want to pay the $300 if you can still find them. I know on eBay I looked a couple of weeks ago and they were going for $600, $800, $1,000 each, which anytime you get 96 pairs of something made, that's what you're going to get, is that price increase from resellers. However, the clutch fit upper really does grab the foot and holds the foot nice. The underlays hold the foot stable while you're lifting, and this 3D midsole, while not very cushioned, is very, very stable. Again, if you've got to have this shoe, $300 probably was not that expensive for you. If you can do without it and get a $100, $120 shoe that does the same thing, it feels just as good, you're probably better off. Up next, I think I've exhausted my reviews. I think this is the last one I have on deck, so we'll just have to see what comes in next and be surprised. Wear testers, this is Duke signing off. I'm out.